You ever notice how some people test you the moment they meet you? They interrupt you mid-sentence. They make subtle jabs disguised as jokes. They act like your time, your boundaries, and your presence don't matter. And for most of your life, you've probably been told to ignore it, stay nice, or don't make it a big deal. But here's the truth. When you don't set the tone, people will decide it for you. Respect isn't given. Respect is communicated, quietly, calmly, and immediately, through how you respond. And that's where Stoicism becomes your advantage. Stoics don't explode. They don't beg to be understood. They don't trade dignity for approval. They control themselves. And because of that, the world takes them seriously. Today, you'll learn 6 powerful Stoic responses that make people respect you instantly, without raising your voice, without getting emotional, and without losing your center. Let's begin. 1. The silent stare. There are moments in life when someone tests you not because they are powerful, but because they believe you won't stand up for yourself. And the worst part is, sometimes they're right. You've been in that situation before. Someone cuts you off mid-thought. Someone throws a joke that isn't really a joke. Someone tries to embarrass you just to elevate themselves. And for a second, you feel that familiar sting, that rush of heat in your chest, that question in your mind. Did they really just talk to me like that? Most people react instantly. They defend, they justify, they laugh nervously to keep the peace, not because they're weak, but because they were never taught how to protect their dignity without starting a fight. But here's the truth. You don't earn respect by explaining yourself. You earn respect by controlling the space you stand in. And nothing controls a room faster than the silent stare. A calm, steady, grounded look that stops disrespect in its tracks. When someone throws shade at you, they expect you to react. They want you flustered, emotional, thrown off balance. That reaction gives them power. But when you lift your eyes and meet theirs in complete stillness, you interrupt their entire plan. The silence becomes a mirror, and suddenly, they're the one exposed. A Stoic doesn't respond to disrespect with emotional fire. A Stoic responds with grounded presence, because presence is louder than anger. Picture this. You're speaking, and someone interrupts with a mocking comment. The room gets quiet. Everyone turns to see your reaction. But instead of defending yourself, you simply look at them, not with rage, not with fear, with calm, controlled attention. 3 seconds. That's all it takes. Those 3 seconds say more than a speech ever could. Those 3 seconds tell the room exactly who you are. Someone who cannot be moved, manipulated, or minimized. Your silence becomes authority. Your calm becomes power. Your eyes become the boundary. And here's why it hits so hard. Most people who disrespect others are not as confident as they pretend to be. They rely on chaos. They rely on reactions. They rely on you shrinking so they can feel bigger. But when you don't shrink, when you meet their energy with unshakable stillness, they have nothing left to stand on. The silent stare forces them to confront their own behavior. It reveals their insecurity instead of yours, and every person watching can feel the shift in power. You didn't argue, you didn't explain, you didn't raise your voice. You simply existed with dignity, and dignity demands respect. Your calm presence says, I'm not controlled by your words. I don't need your approval. I choose how I am treated. That is Stoic mastery. That is self-respect in action. That is how you reclaim space without losing control. And once you experience how powerful the silent stare really is, something changes inside you. You stop chasing respect. You stop trying to please everyone. You stop proving your worth to people who don't deserve that access. Because now you understand, respect doesn't come from reacting. Respect comes from standing still. When you hold your gaze, you hold your ground. And when you hold your ground, people take you seriously, instantly. 2. Silence is the answer. Not every disrespect deserves your voice. Some moments demand something stronger, your silence. There are situations where responding only gives the other person what they want: your energy, your time, your emotional attention. Some people don't attack you because they dislike you. They attack because they want a reaction. They want to feel powerful. They want to know they can reach into your peace and pull you out of it. But silence denies them that privilege. Silence is not passivity. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not letting them win. Silence is strategy. Think about the last time someone tried to bait you into an argument. The way they escalated the moment the second you pushed back. The way their tone shifted when they realized they got under your skin. That wasn't a conversation. It was a trap. And you were supposed to fall into it. But a Stoic learns to see these moments differently. A Stoic recognizes emotional fishing. A Stoic does not fight battles that don't deserve to be fought. When you answer disrespect with silence, you send a message that cannot be misunderstood. Your behavior doesn't earn my participation. It's a higher form of self-control. It's choosing peace over performance. It's reminding yourself that not every fire needs your breath to burn. Picture this. Someone in your family or your workplace throws a passive-aggressive comment your way. Normally, you'd respond instantly. You'd defend yourself. You'd point out their hypocrisy. But this time, you don't. You pause. You let the words float in the air, and you give them nothing. Just silence. The room feels different when you do this. They expected noise. They expected drama. They expected you to justify yourself. But silence flips the entire script. It leaves them hanging in the weight of their own hostility. It exposes their insecurity. It forces them to confront the emptiness of their attack. People who rely on subtle disrespect hate silence, because silence makes their behavior painfully visible. Your silence says, I see what you're doing. I'm not engaging, and I'm not giving you access to my emotions. There is incredible power in refusing to feed someone's negativity. You protect your energy, you protect your dignity, you protect your peace. And peace is not something you owe anyone. Peace is something you guard. This doesn't mean you stay silent forever. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be a doormat. It teaches you to respond intentionally, not impulsively. Silence is a temporary boundary, a moment of clarity that stops the emotional momentum of the other person. It gives you the space to choose your next move with intelligence instead of impulse. Silence is the pause that protects your character. Silence is the space where you regain control. Silence is the boundary that cannot be argued with. Remember this: people can debate your words, twist them, or throw them back at you. But they cannot twist silence. They can't manipulate what you didn't say. They can't distort a calm, still presence. When you stay silent, you force them to deal with themselves, not you. And that is why silence, when used with intention, earns instant respect. Not because you won the argument, but because you refuse to lose yourself in it. Your silence is not retreat. Your silence is self-mastery. Your silence is strength. And the world always respects the person who cannot be shaken. 3. Stop explaining yourself. One of the fastest ways to lose respect is to over-explain. And one of the fastest ways to gain respect is to stop. Think about how many times in your life you've apologized for things that didn't need apologies. How many times you've justified your choices to people who weren't affected by them. How many times you've tried to convince someone to understand you, even when they weren't listening in the first place. That habit doesn't come from weakness. It comes from being conditioned to prove your worth. It comes from growing up believing that being understood equals being accepted. It comes from wanting peace so badly that you sacrifice your self-respect to maintain it. But Stoicism teaches a different truth. You don't owe anyone a presentation about your life. Your choices are yours. Your boundaries are yours. Your direction is yours. People who truly respect you don't demand explanations. People who don't respect you will never be satisfied with one. And every time you bend over backwards to justify your decisions, you train the world to expect justification from you. You teach people that your no is negotiable. You teach them that your worth needs approval. You teach them that you're willing to surrender your power for validation. That stops now. Imagine this. You decide to walk away from a toxic friendship. You choose a new career path. You make a health decision that feels right for you. Suddenly, people demand explanations. Why would you do that? Are you sure? What were you thinking? And for once, instead of launching into a long speech, you respond with a calm, steady sentence. Because it's the right decision for me. That's it. No details, no justification, no emotional unraveling. And in that moment, something powerful happens. You shift from defending your life to owning it. Explaining yourself rarely leads to understanding. It usually leads to debate, to judgment, to someone picking apart your reasoning to make themselves feel smarter or more important. But when you refuse to play that game, you reclaim your authority. You stop performing. You start living. A Stoic doesn't chase permission. A Stoic doesn't argue their worth. A Stoic doesn't shrink their decisions to fit someone else's comfort. Your life is not a courtroom. You don't owe evidence. You don't owe a breakdown of your logic. You don't owe emotional openness to people who haven't earned that access. One of the deepest acts of self-respect is holding your decisions without letting them be dissected by others. It shows that you've thought things through. It shows that you trust yourself. It shows that you don't need external approval to stay grounded. Here's something most people never realize. When you explain yourself too much, people stop listening to what you're saying and start evaluating you. But when you speak simply and clearly, people feel your confidence. Short sentences carry power. Clear boundaries carry weight. Calm conviction commands respect. Try this the next time someone demands an explanation. Pause, breathe, and answer with a single, grounded sentence. This is my decision, and it works for me. No anger, no defensiveness, no over-explaining, just truth. And if they push harder, you repeat it, calmly, firmly, without adding a single extra word, because the moment you stop explaining yourself, you stop bleeding power, you stop seeking permission, you stop letting other people write your story, you reclaim your voice, you reclaim your boundaries, you reclaim your life. And that is when people begin to respect you, instantly. 4. Keep your distance. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some people only behave well when they're far away from your life. One of the greatest mistakes many people make is keeping disrespectful, draining, or manipulative individuals too close, out of guilt, out of habit, or out of fear that stepping back will cause conflict. But distance is not punishment. Distance is clarity. Distance is protection. Distance is choosing peace over chaos. Not everyone earns the right to be in your inner circle. And the more you grow, the more important this truth becomes. There are people who only treat you well when you're useful. People who smile at you but talk behind you. People who take advantage of your kindness, your honesty, or your desire to avoid conflict. These people will not suddenly wake up one morning and become respectful. Their behavior is a pattern, not an accident. And patterns don't change because you hope they will. They change only when you stop rewarding them with access. Keeping your distance is not cold. It's not cruel. It's the natural consequence of someone crossing a boundary they thought you were too afraid to enforce. When you step back, you're not harming them. You're simply refusing to harm yourself for their comfort. Imagine this scenario. You have a friend who constantly interrupts you, belittles your success, or makes you feel small. Every time you share good news, they respond with sarcasm or jealousy. Every time you're vulnerable, they minimize your experience. Deep down, you know this relationship drains your energy, yet you stay. Because the history is long, or because they're not usually that bad, or because you're afraid of losing the connection completely. But then one day, something shifts inside you. You realize you don't have to live in emotional debt. You realize you don't have to tolerate disrespect disguised as friendship. You realize that peace is more valuable than keeping anyone around. So you begin to step back. Not dramatically, not angrily, just quietly. You respond slower. You share less. You remove them from your emotional front row. And without saying a word, you reclaim space they once occupied without earning it. Distance reveals everything. When you pull back, two things happen. Those who care will notice and adjust. Those who only take will blame you for having boundaries. And that's the moment you see the truth with perfect clarity. Stoicism teaches that the people you allow near your mind, your emotions, and your daily life shape your entire experience. If someone constantly disrespects you, the most powerful response isn't confrontation. It's distance. Because distance stops the cycle. Distance removes their ability to drain you. Distance restores your sense of self. You don't have to fight someone to be free from them. You just have to walk away from where they reach you. Keeping your distance sends a message louder than anger. I value my peace. I'm not available for disrespect. I choose myself over unnecessary suffering. And the beautiful part, you don't need to announce it. You don't need a speech. You don't need permission. Distance speaks for you. And when you master this, people begin to understand something essential about you. Your presence is a privilege. Your energy is limited. Your access is earned. Those who respect you will move closer. Those who don't will fade away. Either way, you win. Because you finally chose peace over proximity. 5. Hold your head high. Your posture is a message. Your presence is a language. And your energy introduces you long before you speak. There is a specific kind of person who tries to shrink others. The kind who senses your potential, your quiet confidence, or your growing self-respect, and tries to undermine it with a comment, a look, or a subtle jab. They want to drag you down to a level where they feel safe. But here's the truth most people never learn. You don't have to respond to these people with words. You respond with posture. Holding your head high is not just about physical alignment. It's about emotional alignment. It's about spiritual alignment. It's about refusing to collapse inward just because someone else wants you small. When someone disrespects you, your body reacts before your mind does. Your shoulders tense, your neck lowers, your chest tightens. You try to shrink yourself so the moment passes faster. This instinct is ancient, a survival reflex. But in the modern world, shrinking yourself does not protect you. It empowers the other person. People treat you according to how you carry yourself. If you collapse, they push further. If you hesitate, they sense weakness. If you doubt yourself, they exploit it. But when you stand tall, when you raise your head, open your chest slightly, relax your shoulders, and look forward, everything changes. Your body tells your mind, I am safe. Your mind tells your emotions, I am in control. And your presence tells the room, I know who I am. There is a grounded, calm authority that comes from standing tall, not arrogance, not aggression, just self-respect expressed physically. Picture this. Someone throws a condescending remark at you. The room becomes tense. People glance at you, expecting embarrassment or an emotional response. But instead, you straighten your posture. You inhale slowly. Your shoulders drop back. Your chin lifts just a little. Your expression is calm, almost neutral, but unshakable. You don't look down. You don't fidget. You don't rush to fix the moment. You simply stand in yourself. And that one physical action sends a message that cannot be misunderstood. I will not shrink so you can feel bigger. Stoicism teaches that dignity is not something you request. Dignity is something you embody. It does not come from permission. It comes from posture, internal and external. Holding your head high also means holding your identity high. Your values, your worth, your boundaries, your truth. Because the world will always test you. Sometimes with disrespect, sometimes with doubt, sometimes with unexpected adversity, but your posture, your physical and emotional posture, determines whether you bend, break, or rise. When you stand tall, you think differently. When you stand tall, you speak differently. When you stand tall, you respond differently. Most people are not used to being around someone who is deeply centered. It unsettles them. It reveals their insecurity. It forces them to acknowledge their own lack of grounding. But it also earns instant respect. Not because you overpowered anyone, not because you attacked anyone, not because you demanded anything, simply because you held your space with dignity. Confidence doesn't shout. Confidence doesn't chase. Confidence stands tall. This is why Stoics moved through life with calm, upright presence. Not stiff, but steady. Not loud, but undeniable. So the next time someone tests you, don't look down. Don't fold inward. Don't disconnect from yourself. Lift your head. Relax your shoulders. Stand in the truth of who you are. Because when you hold your head high, you don't just earn respect, you embody it. 6. The boundary sentence. There will always be people who push your limits just to see if you'll break. Your job is not to fight them. Your job is to define the line. And the most powerful way to do that is with a boundary sentence. A boundary sentence is a short, calm, emotionally neutral phrase that stops disrespect immediately. It's not dramatic. It's not aggressive. It's not an argument. It's simply a clear, steady line that says, "This is where I end and where you don't get to enter." Most people don't use boundaries because they think boundaries create conflict. In reality, boundaries prevent conflict. They communicate truth without shouting it. They establish rules without demanding obedience. They protect you without requiring a fight. A boundary sentence is how you teach the world how to treat you. Here's what makes it powerful. It is short, it is simple, it is steady, it is final. When someone crosses a line, belittles you, invades your space, interrupts you aggressively, or talks to you with disrespect, they expect one of two responses: emotional explosion or silent submission. A boundary sentence gives them neither. It gives them clarity. I'm not continuing this conversation. Speak to me respectfully. That doesn't work for me. I'm stepping away now. Let's keep this respectful. These sentences carry more power than a 10-minute speech. Why? Because they come from self-control, not self-doubt. Imagine this. Someone tries to provoke you during an argument. They raise their voice, make accusations, or twist your words. In the past, you might have defended yourself endlessly, trying to make them understand, trying to fix the moment. But this time, something inside you shifts. You breathe. You come back to yourself. And with complete calmness, you say, "I'm not speaking to you like this. We can talk when it's respectful." Then you stop talking. You sit back, or you walk away. Not dramatically. Simply, confidently, without fear. In that moment, you break the cycle. You remove the fuel from their fire. You remind them they do not control your emotional state. You remind yourself that your peace is not negotiable. A boundary sentence is not about controlling them. It's about controlling yourself. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control other people's behavior, only our response to it. A boundary sentence is the purest expression of that truth. It doesn't aim to change them. It doesn't seek their approval. It simply aligns your actions with your values. Clarity over chaos. Calm over reaction. Self-respect over people-pleasing. Some people will get angry when you set boundaries. Let them. Their reaction reveals who they are. Your firmness reveals who you are becoming. And here's the beautiful part. People who respect you will adjust. People who don't respect you will distance themselves. Either way, you win. Because every time you use a boundary sentence, you strengthen your identity. You strengthen your peace. You strengthen your voice. You stop chasing fairness. You stop over-explaining. You stop being emotionally available to people who manipulate or disrespect you. You step into who you are meant to be. Someone whose presence carries weight, whose silence holds power, and whose words, when spoken, are clear, intentional, and grounded. One sentence can change everything. One sentence can protect you. One sentence can redefine how people treat you. And when you master the boundary sentence, you no longer ask for respect. You require it. 7. The 7-day Stoic shift transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens through repetition. Calm, disciplined repetition. This 7-day Stoic shift is designed to reset how you respond to disrespect, pressure, and emotional triggers. Not through aggression, not through arguments, but through consistent self-mastery. Each day gives you one small action that reshapes how you carry yourself. Silently, powerfully, and intentionally. Day 1. Notice without reacting. Spend the entire day observing how people speak to you, interrupt you, or test your patience. Don't respond immediately. Just notice. Awareness is the first step in reclaiming control. Day 2. Slow your responses. When someone says something provoking, pause for 2 seconds before speaking. This creates psychological space, the same space Stoics use to choose their response instead of falling into emotional traps. Day 3. Practice the silent stare. Use the stare once today when someone crosses a line. Stay calm, stay grounded. Feel how the moment shifts when you hold your presence instead of your words. Day 4. Use one boundary sentence. Pick one. Speak to me respectfully. That doesn't work for me. I'm not continuing this conversation. Say it once today. Steady, calm, and final. Day 5. Create distance. Intentionally reduce access. Respond slower. Share less. Step back from at least one draining relationship or situation. Notice the clarity it brings. Day 6. Hold your posture. All day, keep your head high, shoulders relaxed, breath slow, and chest open. Posture shapes presence. Presence shapes respect. Day 7. Reflect and reinforce. At night, write down what changed this week. You'll start to see the truth. Respect didn't come from what you said. It came from who you became. You've just learned 6 powerful Stoic responses that protect your dignity, strengthen your presence, and command respect without ever raising your voice. But remember this. These aren't just techniques. They are habits of the person you're becoming. A person who stays calm when others push. A person who doesn't chase approval. A person who stands tall, speaks clearly, and knows exactly where the line is drawn. Respect doesn't come from fighting harder. Respect comes from mastering yourself. So take one lesson from today's video and practice it before the day ends. The silent stare, the boundary sentence, holding your posture, or choosing silence over chaos. One action is enough to shift how people treat you, and more importantly, how you treat yourself. If this video brought you clarity, strength, or a sense of peace, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs these reminders. Until next time, stay grounded, stay steady, and stay in command.